For nearly 2 years, Red Bull Racing has been the undisputed force of Formula One, methodical, dominant, and untouchable. But in Miami, the papaya storm finally arrived. With raw pace, clinical execution, and a blistering 1 to finish, McLaren didn't just win. They dismantled Red Bull's aura of invincibility. Max Verstappen may have started from pole, but by the checkered flag, he was staring at the backs of both McLarens from 40 seconds away. What's more startling is what came after. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's notoriously blunt senior advisor, didn't mince words. McLaren's true pace was depressing. A 7/10 per lap deficit. A reality Red Bull hadn't been forced to confront until now. And if you thought this was just a blip, think again. Because what unfolded in Miami may mark a turning point in the 2025 season. If you're serious about understanding what's really happening beneath the surface of this championship battle, hit that subscribe button. Let's discuss, and stay tuned until the end. When Formula One touched down in Miami, few could have predicted the extent of the reality check that awaited Red Bull. Max Verstappen, still very much the championship frontrunner, secured pole position in classic style, delivering the kind of lap we've come to expect from a driver in peak form, in a car that's historically been the class of the field. But what looked like the continuation of another Red Bull triumph unraveled into something far more alarming. What happened on Sunday wasn't just a bad race for Red Bull. It was a revelation. A public unmasking of vulnerabilities the team has managed to conceal for much of the season. And at the center of this turning tide is McLaren, who, after months of hints, upgrades, and rising form, finally pulled the curtain back on the MCL39's full capability. The result? A brutal display of speed and efficiency that left Red Bull in the dust, literally and figuratively. According to Helmut Marko, a man not known for hyperbole, McLaren was operating at full throttle for the first time in 2025. And when they did, the stopwatch told the story. Red Bull was, on average, 7/10 of a second per lap slower. Not over 1 lap. Not due to a tire offset or a brief stint. This was consistent, race-long, and decisive. Marko used the word depressing. That's not a term thrown around lightly inside the Red Bull camp. It's an admission that McLaren, once the underdog fighting for podium scraps, is now capable of dictating the pace of the Grand Prix. And that pace, Red Bull can't match it, at least not right now. Let's dissect what that really means. To begin with, we have to consider the possibility that McLaren has been hiding this performance for a while. Teams often run in lower engine modes, avoid aggressive setups, or delay certain upgrades to disguise their full potential, especially when fighting a team like Red Bull, who can respond with terrifying speed once a threat is detected. Miami may have been the chosen battleground. A track with a mix of low-speed corners, long straights, and thermal management challenges that expose weaknesses and reward a well-balanced chassis. And when McLaren arrived, they didn't just bring upgrades, they brought a change in approach. From the early practice sessions, the orange cars looked confident. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris were able to rotate the car through the tighter sections of Sector 2 with surgical precision, while maintaining strong top-end performance down the long straights of Sector 1. In the race, this balance allowed them to manage tires better, avoid overheating, an issue Verstappen particularly struggled with, and push harder, longer. Verstappen's pole lap was impressive, but in hindsight, it may have masked the true picture. Over the race distance, the RB21 was exposed. Not only was it struggling to keep tire temperatures in the optimal window, but braking instability plagued Verstappen throughout the race. Christian Horner would later confirm that brake temperature fluctuations were creating a numbness in the car's feedback, a phenomenon that robbed Max of the confidence he relies on to extract maximum performance. This leads us to the technical discussion. Red Bull introduced a new floor upgrade for Miami, an area that's become critical under ground effect regulations. The idea was simple: increase downforce, improve consistency, and extend the operating window of the car's performance. But rather than propelling the RB21 forward, the upgrade appears to have had a neutral, or even regressive, effect. Why? It could be down to correlation issues between the wind tunnel and track data. If the new floor worked in simulation but failed under real-world loads, Red Bull may now be chasing a ghost, believing they've gained performance when in fact they've compromised the car's balance. This is compounded by the RB21's fundamental design philosophy. The car is built around Verstappen's preferences: a sharp front end, immediate turn-in, and rear stability under throttle. But this narrow performance window becomes a liability when temperatures spike or when setup compromises are forced, like compensating for overheating brakes or higher tire degradation. McLaren, on the other hand, appears to have developed a car that's more adaptable, one that performs across a broader spectrum of conditions and can maintain performance without punishing the driver. Let's talk about the drivers. Verstappen, for all his brilliance, is a driver who thrives in a car that responds instantly. His feedback loop with the machine is almost telepathic, but only when that car gives him complete trust. When that trust is broken, even marginally, he's forced to overcompensate. And that's what we saw in Miami. Despite his best efforts, Verstappen was unable to hold off Piastri and Norris. His defensive driving was masterful at times, but it was ultimately futile against a car that had both better traction and higher straight-line speed. That's the worrying part for Red Bull. Not that Max made mistakes, but that even a perfect drive couldn't bridge the performance gap. On the McLaren side, Piastri and Norris are maturing into the most balanced and dangerous driver pairing on the grid. Piastri's Miami win wasn't just impressive, it was authoritative. He managed pace, tires, traffic, and pressure with the poise of a seasoned champion. Norris, while slightly behind, still executed a flawless race strategy to ensure McLaren secured maximum points. Here's the big question. How does Red Bull respond? In previous years, they've had the luxury of developing in peace. Their advantage was so vast that even minor updates were enough to keep them ahead. But now, that gap is gone. And to close it, Red Bull will need to take risks. They'll need to innovate, possibly rethink their aerodynamic concept mid-season. That's a huge ask under the cost cap era, where every dollar must be accounted for. And if they don't find performance quickly, they risk not only losing the Constructors' title, but also seeing Max Verstappen's Drivers' Championship lead come under threat. The psychological pressure is also mounting. Red Bull has grown used to winning. The team dynamic, while tight-knit, is not immune to strain. With Marko making such public admissions of weakness and Horner offering more cautious optimism, there could be tension building between Red Bull's leadership voices. That's the kind of internal noise that McLaren will exploit ruthlessly. Let's zoom out. What we may be witnessing in 2025 is the first true generational power shift since Mercedes' dominance gave way to Red Bull in 2021. McLaren, a team with deep heritage and world-class facilities, has rebuilt itself from midfield mediocrity into a title contender through methodical progress. Under Andrea Stella's leadership, and with the technical minds of Peter Prodromou and David Sanchez, McLaren has crafted a car that is finally delivering on its wind tunnel promises. More importantly, they've created a team culture that is confident, resilient, and hungry. The question now isn't whether McLaren can win races. It's whether Red Bull can stop them from winning the championship. Is Red Bull facing a temporary stumble, or is this the dawn of a new era? Could McLaren really be the team to finally end Verstappen's dominance? Let me know what you think in the comments.